But let me expand on that, Gene. You talk about society, and you talk about the societal view with reference to the death penalty. And this is nationwide, I believe, and there is an ambivalence. You used the term death penalty for punishment, but that's not why society imposes and supports the death penalty. Society, or those who are proponents of the death penalty, preach the view that the death sentence is necessary in order to deter or stop other people from committing the same type crimes. This is not true, because if the death penalty was going to deter people from killing other people, we wouldn't be this far advanced in humanity and still have the number of people killed in our community that we have now, where here we are 3/4 of the way into the year, and we've already had over 600 homicides, 600 murders committed here just in Chicago alone. And so the death penalty is not being used as deterrence, but my view is that if society decides that they're going to use the death penalty, and they're going to use it for the proper reason, punishment, you kill, you die, and apply it even-handedly across without regard to race or creed or color or ethnicity, then I can more conscientiously understand the reason for the death penalty. But short of that, I think the death penalty is being imposed for the wrong reason, and I agree with Justice Pincham that there's an imbalance, because there's a selective imposition of the death penalty.
Can we, and when I say we, I mean Africans, can we get justice in the courts?
Yes, I believe that justice is possible for blacks in our American court system.
How?
Well, first, through the increase in the number of black attorneys who are beginning to practice in our criminal justice system, and their knowledge and their courage and their dedication to serving their clients, this is going to have an impact on justice for blacks in the system. When we get more blacks who come into court and who fight for their clients, such as Justice Pincham and I did, and through our firm when we were practicing law. That's what's going to bring about significant change, is the number of blacks that get involved in the system professionally.
What actions do you feel have been done now to help the African American in the courts? I know you just mentioned about, what is being done, that's like future terms, but what do you feel is being done now to help them?
Well, we've got, at this point, not the number that we should have, but in Cook County, I think we have somewhere in a term of 35 or 37 blacks who are sitting as judges, either circuit judges or associate circuit judges, in the system. And we've got to increase the number of blacks who are judges, because the more we get, the more balance we'll get in terms of justice. The existence of a black face in a judicial conference has resulted in significant changes in views of some of the white judges who probably would have not reacted in the fashion that they now react had there not been a black face in that conference. And so the more blacks we get on the bench, the more they are involved in judicial conferences, the more they speak out on issues, the more they show the way by being fair and impartial in their own rulings, in their own courtrooms, then they're leading the way to those white judges who might not have been as sensitive to justice to blacks as they do become after they see how black judges act.
Mm.
There is a despicable, outrageous, offensive disparity in the justice system in Cook County. And I confine it to Cook County because it is that area which I have personal knowledge. My suspicion is that that disparity exists throughout the length and breadth of the country. By disparity, I mean, for example, of the approximately 450, 475 judges on the bench in Cook County, only about 35 are black. Chicago Police Department, 12,000 police officers. 10,000 are white, maybe 9,000 at this point. 3,000 are black. State's attorneys, 700. We still haven't been able to get an accurate count of the number of blacks, but a rough estimate would be no more than 35 at the very most. And what is significant about that is, of the 700, we only have one black assistant state's attorney assigned as a first-chair felony assistant in a courtroom. And a first-chair felony assistant in a courtroom is the assistant who really has charge of prosecution of the case and of those cases in the courtroom. We only have one black.
Who's that, Gene? I didn't think we had any.
Yeah, well, I made that statement on television, and some caller called in and said, "You see, Judge, you're misleading the public. You don't know what you're talking about." I said we didn't have any. "You don't know what you're talking about." He said, "We do. We have one." I said, "Fine." And I don't know who he is, but cousins told me we do have one. We have one. Of the 700, one first-chair felony black assistant.
I'll find out Monday morning.
Yeah.
Tuesday, right?
The Public Defender's Office, although we have a black who is running that office as the Chief Executive Officer, we have about maybe 450, 500 public defenders. The number of black public defenders is, and I won't quote it because the persons told me that my latest figure was inaccurate, but that too is low. Now, in the penitentiary in Illinois, I think the prison population in Illinois is what?
It's approaching 28,000.
But of that 27 to 28,000, 15,000 are black. And of the 15,000, 14,999, figuratively speaking, are from Chicago. And of the 14,999 from Chicago, 14,998, figuratively speaking, are there because they committed crimes on other blacks. So when you consider the financial aspect of the justice system, that is, persons who are employed and salaried in the system, 95% of the people are white. But when you consider the victims and the defendants going through the system with no pecuniary benefit, they are black. And as long as that disparity exists, you're going to have an imbalance and indeed the kind of injustices that we see going on in the system. I don't believe that judges go out here and deliberately just say, "I'm going to punish you differently because you're black, I'm going to punish you differently because you're white." That's not what happens. But the reality is, judges from Cook County who sit in the criminal division, who are elected and who for all practical purposes are not identifiable at the time of the election, are more or less sensitive to that black defendant and less sensitive to that black victim than they would be if that judge was a part of the community that elected him to the bench. So that's the kind of disparity we're talking about. And it is indeed a